I'm Mark Hummel, and welcome to Mark Hummel's Harmonica Party. I am in Sheffield, England, at my friend Bob Hall's house, and we are going to talk about Bob's career and how intertwined it is with all these other people that you've known for many years.
Yeah, we should say that we've had a kind of a run through here, so I probably will forget some of the things.
Don't worry, I will remind you. I will remind you. Don't worry, I'm very good at my job. But I just want to say, for starters, we've known each other. I think we go back 40 years, even though we haven't been the best of friends. We've always been friendly and played shows together off and on.
Yeah, and I know we have met and played together. And I got the photographs to prove it.
And you got the photographs. You got to lay one of those on me.
Right.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to just say is how did somebody from England get into blues? As I assume you were a youngster when you got into blues, right?
I was 14.
Right.
And a school friend of mine said, "I've got a couple of records that might interest you." And he took me to his house and he played me. He had two records. They were the only blues records he had. And one of them was Smokestack Lightning by Howlin, Wolf, and the other was a Sonny Terry Brownie McGee album.
Wow. Yeah.
And that changed my life. I thought, hey, I want to, particularly the Howlin' Wolf one. The piano, it was an EP, and there were a couple of other tracks, You Can't Be Beat and Come to Me Baby, and it had that fabulous piano. I wanted to play like that.
Now, were these LPs or 45s?
Well, one was, I think, a 10-inch album. The other was a 45.
Right.
But it was EP, 2 tracks on each side. Yeah.
Was it the Wolf one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, I've still, I went out and bought it. I've still got it there.
Right. Sounds like me.
Yeah. And I never ever thought I'd get to play with him, but hey.
Now you talk about Wolf?
Yeah.
You played with Wolf?
Yeah.
Wow. When was that?
6
Groundhogs?
Dave Kelly Band, I think. They were called the John Dummer Blues Band.
Okay.
And John Dummer was the drummer of the band, and it was his band. And yeah, we backed Wolf. I think they did a lot more gigs all over the country, but I played all the ones I could get to.
Yeah.
Having a day job and having chained by the foot to the office.
And I think in a lot of ways that's what makes you kind of unusual, is that you're one of the musicians in the early, in the 60s that kind of kept a day job, but also did a ton of work with different people that were, pretty much became very famous.
Yeah.
And you also did a lot of work with American artists, probably more so than most of the British musicians.
I got good at playing hooky from the office.
Right.
And also at that time, I worked for the government, and working for the government wasn't that hard in those days.
Right. So you had a lot of leeway with that.
You could get in late and go home early, and no one noticed.
Right.
They don't notice. I don't mind.
Right. Exactly. So were you playing piano prior to hearing about blues or not?
Yeah, my father was a pianist.
Okay.
And in many respects, a much better pianist than me, because my father was one of these people. He liked the Great American Songbook, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But he could hear a tune on the radio and straight away sit down and play it.
Wow.
He just had that ear.
Yeah.
And he was very good.
So he was not necessarily a guy that just did reading.
No.
Yeah.
I think he could read, but he could do everything. He didn't need to.
Right.
But unfortunately for him, the only gigs that were available for pianists in those days were in pubs, because every pub had a piano. In fact, every home had a piano.
That's true. Yeah.
And my mother didn't want him playing in pubs. So she sort of said,
was it just because of the lifestyle? Or?
I think so, yes. And she felt that if he spent too much time in pubs, he'd have too much to drink.
Right.
But he never did. My father was a very abstemious man, but that was her view. So,
and what did he do for a living?
He was a buyer for a tin plate firm that made tin boxes, biscuit tins, down by the docks in Bermondsey in London. And I used to work there in the vacations, loading tins onto trucks and one thing or another. But my father was my inspiration, although he never liked what I played. He never liked it, because I'm left-handed, And for me, Boogie Woogie was the easiest thing to play.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, and he
I
would
never
say,
even
no,
thought of that.
play something we can whistle. I thought, no, I want to play this.
Right.
So that was, we differed in that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, he was my inspiration. And I wish I'd had his talent.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly gotten to be a great player. And
I scraped by.
Yeah. I think you're one of the best, blues players in the country, easily.
Well, I used to be one of the only ones.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean,
yeah.
you're somebody that really went after
the
old school type of blues, and I didn't really hear
Yeah.
many UK
No.
blues pianists really going after it like you did.
No, we used to have my first wife and I. We used to have boogie woogie parties.
Wow.
And we would invite all the boogie woogie pianists in England.
Mm-hmm.
So in fact, the guy used to come down from Scotland too.
Wow.
And we'd have these weekend parties, and we had two pianos which we kind of pushed back to back in the same room,
Mm-hmm.
and we just played interminable boogie. It must be terrible. Well, the neighbours must have thought, but we were young and enthusiastic.
Right. Now, did you ever get a chance to meet Steve Winwood in the early years?
I saw him play once. In fact, he almost stopped me dead because I saw him play when he was with Spencer Davis.
Right.
And he sang better, played piano better, and played guitar better than I did. And he was 16 or something like that.
16.
Why do I bother?
That's what I've heard about him, is that everybody had that reaction to him, pretty much. Everybody I've ever talked to. Mayall said the same thing.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah. So could he play boogie woogie too?
I didn't hear him do that, but he was a very good blues pianist.
He sure was.
He was just a very good everything.
Just everything, yeah. I agree. He was a great guitar player too. And a great singer, yeah. Wild. So what was the first blues band you were in?
I tried, before I went to university, to put together the odd band one way or another. But really, the first proper blues band I was in, I left university, and there used to be a magazine, newspaper, weekly paper called The Melody Maker here.
Right.
And the back of the Melody Maker, there were adverts for musicians.
Right.
And they would say things like, drummer must have own transport, all of this kind of stuff. And every time there was an advert for a keyboard player, I would answer it. But mostly they wanted somebody who played organ, because Jimmy Smith was very popular at that time, and I didn't want to do that.
Right.
And eventually I found a band that wanted a piano player, and I went along for the interview, for the audition, and two people answered the advert, and the other guy didn't show up. So I got the gig.
You got the gig, yeah.
And that was the Groundhogs.
Oh, really?
And the Groundhogs were a band that was, I think we were doomed to be commercially unsuccessful because we didn't like anything that was commercially successful.
Right. And that was Tony McPhee?
Yeah, we didn't play any Chuck Berry or anything Bo Diddley, none of that stuff. We want to play the real stuff, Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters. Hey, we were young.
And what year was that? Do you remember?
64, 65.
Okay. And now you guys backed, as I recall, you backed a ton of people. John Lee Hooker and...
Hooker was the second. We backed Champion Jack Dupree.
Champion Jack, right.
But that was in the days when he used to do his song and dance routine.
Oh, okay.
Because he had that kind of New Orleans style, and he would do the singing and the dancing with his flashy shoes and what have you. And I played piano for him. Oh, he played piano as well.
Right. I knew he played piano
when he stood up, and then we backed John Lee Hooker a lot. And I think originally the band was called the Dollarbills, and they changed it to the Groundhogs to back John Lee Hooker.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, because of his song.
Groundhog Blues.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
And they did several tours with him, and I think they
he became really big here during that time.
He
ended up having like a #1, didn't he?
Well, certainly top 5.
Right.
Boom Boom.
Right.
And what was the other one? There was another one he had, which I'm struggling now.
Hobo or
no.
Hobo Blues? I don't remember.
No, he had
maybe. Dimples.
Dimples was a hit.
Yeah, right.
And Boom Boom was
Right.
in the top 22.
Right,
So
I
he had two
remember
records
that.
in the top
Yeah.
20.
Right.
And I can remember playing with John loved ladies. He loved the ladies, you know. And he was at that time, I think, very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
As he was maybe 40-ish.
Yeah,
You know, and,
yeah.
and we played gigs, and the first 3 rows would be young 15, 16-year-old girls, you know. And John would be,
He must have been in
I think
heaven.
I'll have that one.
He must have been in heaven.
He loved it. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my first experience of really seeing what music could do for you.
Yeah, I'll say that's enough to keep you in the business right there. Sure. Yeah.
But we also backed little Walter, who was not successful financially.
Right. You're saying just people didn't come out to see him?
Well, people came out to see him, but he didn't connect with the audience.
Right.
He didn't speak to them. He played long harmonic
meandering kind of stuff. Yeah.
He didn't. I mean, John would
knew how to connect.
Yeah. He really tried to connect, and Walter didn't do that, and he didn't go down that well. And
now, why do you think that was? Do you think that was just not being comfortable in England, or what do you think it was?
I don't know. He wasn't very happy.
Right. Was he drinking a lot?
Well, the first gig that he came backstage to see us, and he said, it's usual for the band to buy me a bottle of whiskey.
Not a good intro.
And we said, well, if we buy you a bottle of whiskey, that's our fee. I mean, we're playing this gig for next to nothing because it's you.
Because of you, yeah.
So that didn't go down very well. And then when he didn't go down that well with the audience, he blamed the band.
Of course.
It was our fault, which I think was unfair, because he was very unlikely to have found another band that had a copy of The Best of Little Walter, which was the only vinyl album you could get, even in America.
Yeah.
And we had it. In fact, it's over there in that record. I've still got it.
So now, did you guys learn his stuff pretty much?
We learned his stuff off the record, so we could play it straight off, no messing about. But he
just wasn't happy.
Yeah, he was not happy.
Yeah.
But not all the stars went down that well. I mean, Howlin' Wolf was pretty popular, but I can remember, I wasn't there that night, but I know one gig that they played at a West Indian club in London, and Wolf didn't go down very well.
Really?
And
was it because the audience just kind of didn't get what he did?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he apparently, it was Dave Kelly's band, and Dave was saying Wolf was sitting brooding, the huge man brooding in the van going home, and Dave said to him, Wolf, it's there's nothing personal. I mean, that's a West Indian club where they like ska and reggae and calypso and stuff. They don't know anything about the blues. And Wolf turned to him and he said, "Don't you tell me how to play the coons. I was a coon myself."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Jeez. So it was really the color thing is what kind of freaked him out.
Forgive the language, but that's what he said.
Right. But I'm saying it was really the color thing, the fact that it was he was playing to people that looked like him and he wasn't getting it.
Color was kind of significant in those days. I mean, I can remember John Donnie Hooker could play those clubs and he could do it. He would just change that beat, instead of he would go
he'd do an offbeat,
and you could see all the audience. Oh, man!
He'd do an offbeat,
Hey, reggae man.
Interesting. Wow.
And he could go down anywhere. But there was one club in London. We played the Q Club, where there was a tremendous hostility to us because it was a West Indian club, and we're a white band back in a
black.
And they really did not like us at all. They loved him.
They loved him. Now, who was that? Was that Wolf or?
No, that was
Hooker.
Hooker. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
Wow.
But on the whole, I mean, Wolf, you know, in any normal blues crowd, he could really turn it on. He was great. He was outstanding.
I would think so. Yeah, yeah. So now, would you guys back piano players, and you just kind of open the show or something?
Yeah, that's right. We backed Memphis Slim.
Right. Yeah. And like you say, Champion Jack.
Yeah. Anybody. You know, anybody who was around.
Did you back Eddie Boyd at all?
No, I saw Eddie Boyd play, but I think he played solo.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember him playing with a band.
All right.
But he didn't play with me anyway.
Yeah. And at this same time, I mean, you had a lot of interest in blues. You had Mayall out there doing his thing, and
that for
Alexis Korner.
Yeah, for me that was hugely satisfying because I'd been at university in the north of England, and nobody liked my kind of music.
Yeah.
Nobody at all, and they derided it. You know, and I would thumb home at weekends 200 miles from Durham back down to London, and I could see there was this foment of activity. There was a fellow called Chris Barber.
Oh yeah,
you know, right. He used to have a weekly R&B session at the Marquee Club which was in Oxford Street then, and I'd go there and see it. That's my kind of music. And it's happening, and I'm up in university in this godforsaken place in the north.
So it was really just this tiny little pocket kind of.
Yeah, but it grew from London, and when I came back, it was really happening, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was a good time for me.
Yeah. Now, did you meet people like the Stones and Clapton and different people like that at
that time? I didn't meet. I mean, I often saw them play because they were playing the same sort of clubs that we played, but I didn't get to know them until sometime later. I guess the first real big star I got to know was Pete Green. And that was through a bass player, Bob Bruning, he was my partner in crime for 20 or 30 years.
Right.
In all kinds
and he had
bands.
just joined Fleetwood Mac.
He joined Fleetwood Mac.
McVie.
Yeah. But they were friends, you know, and every time Bob would manage to persuade some record company to make yet another album of us doing something or other.
He'd enlist Peter.
He'd say, well, I can get Peter Green to come play. Oh, okay.
Right.
You know, so Peter would come and go,
right.
And Bob could charm anybody. He was a charming man.
Yeah.
I guess the most successful band we had probably was called Tramp. And that was just about 1970, 71. Mm-hmm. And that had Mick Fleetwood on drums and Danny Kirwan on guitar and Bob on bass and me on piano.
So they had Fleetwood Mac going, but they were also playing with you.
Yeah. Although I think at that time Fleetwood Mac was in some kind of
they were kind of in limbo because Peter had just left.
Well, and there was some kind of legal. There was argument about the name, who owned the name.
Really?
Well, I think the management put out a completely different band under the name Fleetwood Mac, and there was
I never heard that.
There was a lawsuit and one thing.
Wow,
I think
I never heard
Mick was
that.
waiting for that to be sorted out.
Oh, I never heard that before.
And I remember we paid him £38 for the session, and he was really glad to have it. 2 days.
Talk about Mick?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He was really glad to have it.
Yeah.
So, and that band, we made 2 albums, and after we did some gigs after the second
with
one.
Tramp,
yeah. That was early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And
so the albums, the Bruning Sunflower Band, that was you and Bob Bruning,
and anybody else we could get,
anybody else you could get. But Peter was, I think, a guest on all 3. Or did you guys record all those at the same time and distribute them? Or
they were recorded in a studio that in the mornings was a children's play group.
Huh.
And in the afternoon they shoo all the children out, and then the band would come in. And,
interesting.
And we'd. And that particular company was one that wouldn't allow you to play any copyright material, so you had to change the titles.
Well, but I mean, he did a couple with you guys. Like he did "It Takes Time" and I think a BB tune on there. I forget which one.
We probably changed the title.
No, they had the same titles.
Oh, they would have said it was traditional then.
I don't know. I
I
thought
don't
it's
know.
maybe I'm wrong, but
it was
wow.
it was taboo to
And what was the label? The label?
Saga.
Sonnet?
Saga.
Oh, Saga. Okay, I'm not familiar.
Saga was a drugstore label. You can buy them in record stores.
Right. It was kind of like United and some of those other ones.
Exactly
Yeah,
like exactly
dollar
like,
copies in the
that's
stores.
right.
Yeah,
In front of the store.
right.
In the racks.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I was really impressed with the way Peter Green sounded on those 2 records. He really sounded great.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
We had fun with those.
Right. But you're saying he wouldn't take any money?
No, he never took any money from it.
Wow.
No.
So he was doing it just because he liked you guys, basically.
Yes.
Or something to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Something to do.
Something
whatever.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I remember when I met you, I met Bob Bruning. This was in 86 or 87. We met in Helsinki, and I asked him about Peter, and he told me that that Peter was under his wife's care at an outpatient clinic for.
Yeah, she was a very senior psychiatrist.
And he was saying that he was really long fingernails and the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, many years later, we did get together in something called the British Blues All Stars.
Right.
And Peter was on several of the gigs, but it was very difficult, partly because he was a ward of court,
right.
which meant that you had to go to a judge to explain what the gig was and how much he was going to be paid and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, he needed 24-hour supervision.
Yeah.
So if he was in a hotel room, somebody had to be with him all night.
That is unbelievable.
He heard voices, and sometimes the voices told him to do things that you wouldn't want him to do.
That's unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah. So,
it's a very sad story.
It is. Yeah. You want to talk something more too? I've got to tell you about teaching Linda McCartney to play the piano.
Why don't we talk about that? That's an incredible story. What year was that?
Well, this would be early 70s.
Uh-huh.
And I think, despite what the newspapers said, Linda wasn't that enthusiastic about playing with wings.
Mm-hmm.
She did it because Paul didn't want her to be just hanging on
left out kind of
and trawling along with the band. I mean, they were touring around the world. He wanted Linda to come with him, but he said, look, you need to have more of
more of a part of the
you need a dog in this race,
right.
So he said, why don't you learn to play the piano? And Paul actually could play the piano quite well.
Right.
I imagine he still can.
Sure. Yeah.
So they had a piano in the living room, and Linda had been to see Fats Domino play in Las Vegas, and she asked Fats if he would give her lessons, and he said, "Well, show me what you can play." And she played a bit, and Fats said, "Well, go away and have some lessons, and when you get good enough, I'll teach you."
Huh.
And she took this as as encouragement.
Right.
So my job was to teach her to play well enough that Fats Domino would get.
Now, how did you two meet, though?
We met through her accountant. Her accountant phoned me up. I don't know how he got my number, but I mean, I guess there weren't too many piano players who could do that sort of stuff. Resident in London, they were all out in the world being superstars and whatever.
Right.
And he said, "Will you teach Linda to play the piano?" And I said, "I've never taught anybody to play the piano."
Really?
No, I've never given lessons. And so what we agreed was that I would do my best to teach her, and she would make a charity contribution, and that was so that every week I would go up there and in the lunch hour.
Wow.
A long lunch hour.
Yeah.
And teach Linda to play the piano.
What a trip.
And there was always a problem getting into their St. John's Wood house because big wall around.
Right.
And there's a gate with a doorbell.
And this is before you could text and all that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Way before.
So the problem was that the Japanese tourists used to come around in their tour buses, and they'd press the bell and no one would ever answer it because it was, anyway, I phone up and say, I'm coming and I'll give you exactly the time, so please
Be there, yeah,
answer the
right.
door.
Yeah.
And mostly that worked.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I give Linda an hour's teaching.
And they had kids at this point.
They had, there was a teenage daughter who worked, I think, at the florist around the corner from there, because Paul had said she had to get a job.
Right.
You know.
Now she's the one that has the clothing company
I
now?
believe she
Yeah,
is, yes,
yeah.
yes. And I never met her because she worked.
Uh-huh.
But I met the two younger children who were then about 8 or 10, and I thought they were fabulous kids. They were really nice, well-adjusted children. And you know, they sometimes, if Linda was late, they'd answer the door and take me in and sit me down. Do you want a cup of tea? And I mean, it was really.
Yeah.
And then they try and engage me in conversation. You know,
Right.
And I
That's
thought
great.
It was so nice.
Yeah.
And I used to bring my children up there.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So they'd all play together?
Well, they played there was a tennis machine. Linda had bought this tennis with it, and we'd never seen anything like this.
Right.
It was a whole new world.
Yeah.
So my kids were like, "Can I play the tennis machine?" You know, ping.
That's funny. Yeah. Keep them busy.
Yeah, that kept them busy while.
Do you know how long of lessons you would do? Like an hour?
About an hour at a time,
Okay.
yeah. And we went through Jimmy Yancey. I had books of Jimmy Yancey sheet music and stuff, and try to get that left hand.
How'd she do with it?
Not that great. She never had enough time to practice.
Yeah.
I mean, Linda was an extraordinarily talented woman. Her photographs were really quite first class, and it's disappeared in moves. But I used to have a signed book of hers of Linda's pictures.
Right.
And they were terrific. And of course, she's now internationally famous for her vegetarian food recipes and things. So she had a lot of talent, but it wasn't so much on the piano. But a nice woman, very nice.
Yeah,
I liked her a
that's
lot.
great. Yeah, yeah. So did you get to know Paul some during that time?
A little bit. I mean, they didn't. I'm trying to think. I mean, it was just a very ordinary household. And Paul would go out in the morning at 9 o'clock, and he'd come back in the evening at 5 o'clock. He'd have his dinner and so on. And they didn't have servants to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah.
I think they had a cleaning lady.
Right. But not maids or butlers.
Paul or
like
Linda
that.
would make the meals, and it was a very ordinary life.